Welcome back to Energy Atlas, the podcast where we explore smarter ways to power the world. I'm your host, Rasul, and today we will examine why electricity bills are rising across advanced economy, even in places where renewable energy is expanding and power generation is becoming cleaner. In the United States, households that rely primarily on electricity for heating are expected to spend around 4% more this winter than last year. In California, residential electricity prices are roughly one-third higher than they were 6 years ago. Similar trends are also visible in United Kingdom and across the parts of Europe. Electricity prices are often explained in political terms. Wind and solar are frequently blamed. The economic explanation is more complex. To understand what is driving higher bills, we need to look at how electricity systems are built, financed, and priced. A significant portion of electricity bills has little to do with how electricity is generated. Instead, it reflects the cost of moving power from producers to consumers. This includes transmission lines, distribution networks, substations, maintenance, and upgrades to improve reliability and resilience. In the United Kingdom, the energy regulator Ofgem approved roughly £28 billion of network investment for the current regulatory period. Ofgem has been explicit that while these upgrades are necessary to reduce long-term bottlenecks and improve reliability, part of the cost will be recovered through consumer bills. California shows a similar pattern in a different regulatory environment. Singh and his colleagues find that wildfire mitigation, grid hardening, and legacy infrastructure costs have been major drivers of rising residential electricity prices, rather than increases in generation costs. What this tells us is straightforward. Grid investment is not a future expense, it is already embedded in what households pay today. Wind and solar powers are now among the cheapest sources of new electricity generation in many regions. But cheaper generation does not automatically translate into lower electricity bills. The reason lies in how wholesale electricity markets operate. In both the United States and the United Kingdom, wholesale electricity prices are largely set through marginal pricing. The most expensive generator needed to meet demand in a given hour sets the price for all electricity sold in that period. And what does this mean in practice? As long as gas remains necessary to balance the system, especially during peak demand or periods of low renewable output, gas prices continue to exert a strong influence on electricity prices. This helps to explain why electricity prices surged during periods of gas market volatility, even in systems with rapidly growing renewable capacity. Another major driver of rising electricity costs is demand growth. Electricity systems are built to meet peak demand, not average consumption. When demand increases quickly, grids require additional capacity, new connections, and higher reliability margins. These costs are ultimately shared across consumers. Recent demand growth is increasingly linked to data centers, particularly those supporting artificial intelligence workloads. According to the International Energy Agency, a single large AI-focused data center can consume as much electricity as around 100,000 households. Shehabi and colleagues show that concentrated, continuous demand from data centers places significant stress on local grids, accelerating the need for the infrastructure upgrades, especially where facilities cluster geographically. In parts of the United States, electricity demand is projected to rise by more than 15% over the next few years, driven in large part by data center expansion and electrification trends. And this explains why grid investment is accelerating even in regions where household electricity use has not increased. Electricity bills are not determined solely by how much power a household consumes. They also include fixed charges, delivery fees, and regulated cost recovery mechanisms tied to infrastructure investment and system reliability. As Joskow explains, electricity systems are highly capital intensive. When utilities invest in grids or capacity, those costs are recovered through regulated tariffs over time. The consequence is that electricity bills can rise even when household usage remains flat or declines. This reflects the structure of electricity markets rather than short-term policy failure. So here is the takeaway. Electricity bills are rising not because clean energy is expensive, but because grids are becoming more complex, demand is growing, and fossil fuels still set prices at the margin. As electricity systems continue to decarbonize, the challenge will be aligning cleaner generation with affordable delivery. Thanks for tuning into Energy Atlas. Until next time, remember, understanding energy costs means looking beyond generation and into how power systems are built and paid for.